automation only gets you so far. Humans will never leave this industry. It's proven time and time again. AI adoption is skyrocketing right now. Everybody's trying to incorporate AI. I think how you use it in your day-to-day still needs to really be flushed out because consumers, they're becoming wise. So it's as effectively like, how do you make sure, and this is our thesis, is like, how do I take the 123,000 people that are in Sunit's database, and how do I whittle it down to a bite-sized portion where his human capital can go out and do their job? And then you automate the others. I think that that's the proven formula. Whereas most people are like, let's automate everything. If you use those, and if you go to Agent Legend's website, we're a communications platform at our core. That's what we've been for 9 years. We've adapted, I should say, in the form of like, we just want to help you talk to the right people with our automation. Because if you try to talk to everyone, you're going to rack up a hearty bill, and that's not sustainable for anyone's business.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Reside Platform Podcast. I'm your host today, Sunit Aggarwal. And today we have a phenomenal guest, Steve Gerten. Steve, what's going on, bro?
It's been a great day. Excited to catch up and share with your community what we've been working on.
Awesome. Me too. So guys, Steve is the CEO of Agent Legend, where they're helping over 30,000 real estate pros and mortgage pros and my own team turn leads into actual deals. He's got a really cool, interesting background in finance, mergers and acquisitions, which maybe we'll leave to another episode, and real estate. But so the cool thing about that is he understands not just how to generate leads, but how to actually build real businesses and do the M&A, which is awesome, right? So hats off to you. However, today I want to dive deep into not some bio, not some origin story, although I'm sure it's very interesting, something that every real estate team needs to master, and that's lead intelligence. All right? What do you think, Steve?
I love it.
Lead intelligence. Dude, that sounds like a fancy word. What does it mean? What does lead intelligence mean?
I mean, effectively, back to it's a more predictable way to generate business within the brokerages that we're working with. So without going too deep into the background and the bio, but it is the problem that we see so often, and you see the stats that are out there of low, terrible conversion rates, and how do we ultimately convert more of the leads that we have worked our butt off to accumulate. So we get into a perpetual habit of generation of leads, but ultimately we know that it takes time to close those leads. And so how do you remain laser focused on the leads that are ready to buy, and defining and bringing in a layer of understanding, and we could say intelligence again, but the difference between who's a marketing qualified lead, who's a sales qualified lead, leave it at that, and then use all the fancy tools that are at our disposal to ultimately help you convert those. And it is all about generating more predictable, more sustainable, and more transferable cash flow for all of the clients that we're working with. And that's, as we get in, if we unpack any of that today, I know a lot of the team leaders and the owners that we're working with, I mean, that's the thing. It's you go through these ebbs and flows of markets, but the predictability remains tough, and you go through really great years and you go through troublesome years. And so we're hoping to bring in, using the great data and insights that we all have flowing through our system on a day-to-day basis, and make them actionable, but also making them simple and intuitive to actually put into motion. So, I mean, in a nutshell, lead intelligence, it is a simple way of identifying the prospects, whether they're leads, and however you define them, or they could be past clients who are also leads. Who's ready to transact, and how do you direct your daily efforts? That's what we do.
I think you said something that's really interesting, is right, like trying to understand the data. Me in my life and career, and dealing with sales organizations outside of just real estate, in other markets, in other fields, you can get really predictable with your data. Right? Like you can understand if this one offer hits or this one product hits. But in real estate, we have a bunch of other shit that's out there that is impacting any thoughts about predictability that you can think of, right?
Correct. Yeah. And we have, let's use the most common use cases for a lot of our clients are, when was the lead created? Are they clicking on my emails? Are they viewing properties? those tend to be the indicators that maybe we should reach out. But we know there's a lot of effort and energy that goes into communicating with the tire kickers. And if we can avoid the sales pitch to the tire kickers, think about how much time that saves your team and how much more you can do by just focusing on the right people in the database. And I mean, it's as simple. You mentioned it, is like large companies and corporations all across the world have understood how to leverage big data. You think about your credit card provider, you think about the companies that repackage and resell that information out into the marketplace. Our company takes that information and now injects it into your CRM of choice, whatever it is that you're using. And so now not only do you get the great insights from all of the calls, texts, the daily first party data that your team has, but we overlay that with what the heck are these people doing when they're not engaging with your brand? Because that's where the true secret sauce is. And if we can bring that into the fold, it again just brings a little bit more clarity and focus as to how to maximize those daily efforts. And that's the intelligence part that we bring into the mix. So it's the big data component that for years has been lacking. And I've always been a data junkie. So we're excited that the thesis was there, but now the proof is in the pudding. And so the results we've generated for your team, as well as other teams across the country, it's now just harvesting the information that to date, most people just don't put action behind. And that's what we do.
Yeah. Why don't you give us an example of like a scenario where something happened?
Well, let's just take yours, right? So
cool.
Are you okay with me sharing some of the
yeah,
data?
Yeah. Yes.
So you're a great use case of 120,000 contacts in a database. Imagine handing that off, and you're also generating more every single day. So you become the hamster on a wheel to a certain extent. And those that are blindly and arbitrarily choosing leads at random to communicate with, you're going to leads to a lot of inefficiencies, higher expenses with the people that you're paying to make that outreach. So as your database grows,
sure,
you know this, right? Margin control is really problematic. And so we take the 123,000, we whittle it down using our data and insights very simplistically, is to understanding and, in your marketplace, what activities are important to the home buyers and sellers. We analyze that background data. We actually help you understand which prospects of the 123,000 are eliciting those behaviors. So now we've taken the 123,000, we've whittled it down to 13,000, and now you have a much better ecosystem to focus on, a lot more palatable, right? You're not eating the whole elephant. And then of the 13,000, now you can use those metrics like property views and communications or anything else that's involved, and you just focus your efforts and time and energy there. And that's what we've been able to do. So our KPIs, or our key performance indicators, I know that's, we pride ourselves on like measurement. So we're about optimization and efficiency. So if we're doing our job right, the number of calls, the number of texts, the number of emails, the number of where we see really great when we talk about reducing expenses. You think about all the third-party platforms that you may be investing in as a team leader. Think about the usage that goes behind those. The more context you have, the more expensive it is. Well, let's suppress some of the leads that we actually send into those systems to create efficiencies. And so now your team is making fewer calls, fewer texts, fewer emails, fewer outbound communications because they're focused on the right subset of customers or prospects. And that leads to a either baseline or similar or higher appointments and conversations. And we all know that if we get to those, it leads to great handoffs to our teams or whoever the agents are that are working them. And that's the layer of productivity that we want our teams to be focused on. So I'll go back to, it's your data. Like, Sunny, you have 123,000 people in your database, and that's going to continue to grow. And so putting on your, with the consolidation, so we won't spend too much time there, but as you think about the next chapter about, ultimately we all exit our business. And so our team is focused on let's focus on the root, which is the CRM of everything. That drives the behavior of the rest of your organization. And if we can dial that in and make it more predictable in what it's able to accomplish, and now you use your platform, you use your leadership to direct the efforts of the team on the right people, that's going to lead to more efficiency, lower expenses, higher conversions on the leads that you're spending money on or maybe not spending money on. And now you have higher margin business, which guess what? A little bit more appealing to anybody else that you want to hand that off to versus most agents or teams, they let that database go to waste. We shouldn't be doing that in today's age with everything that's at our disposal.
No, and I think that a lot of people don't have a plan around this either, right? Like I am really focused on this kind of thing. Like I do have a big team of ISAs. Full disclosure, I wish I had 0 ISAs. I'd be saving a bunch of money every month, right? However, I do have a big team of them. And I do want them working on the right stuff because, like you said, if they try to eat that whole 120,000 lead friggin' elephant, that shit's never going to be done, right? But 30,000 you can process.
Yeah, and they're going to say, we got a lot. I ran a real estate team here in the Minneapolis-St. Paul market. That's where I'm from. And my team would always say the leads suck. And you have, you get that feedback as well. And that goes back to the definition and the understanding of where each prospect or each line item effectively in your CRM, because you don't know the person most of the time behind the scenes, where the heck are they at in their path to purchase? The teams that win are those that understand where they're at in their path to purchase, and they're having the right conversations with the right people at the right time. How do you do that? And so that's the layer that we bring into it, which ultimately trickles down. And there's so much application around, your use case, Sonny, right, is 123,000 contacts in a database. How do you prioritize the right contacts? Because ultimately, we're sales organizations at the end of it. I follow along. I see all the coaches out there. You guys do a phenomenal job at the training and making sure the agents can be productive and they're focused on the right activities. You can help there. But there's a bigger opportunity here of not only it's more expensive to acquire a customer, but most teams do that. How do we also layer on? How do we increase the lifetime value of every prospect?
That's what it's all about. And no one talks about it, dude. No one talks about it.
Yeah, well, they do. I mean, you guys do, right? You do. How do I nurture, right? The transaction doesn't stop there. People view people as past customers. Heck no, they aren't past customers. They're still leads. They're referral sources, and that lead is going to transact again. They're going to buy or sell again. We all know the stats. Most agents don't stay in touch effectively because they're busy and they're chasing the next deal. As a team, as an organization, you can now build a defensible moat to take that off the plates of the agents. You want the agents to do what they do best. Go out, shake hands, kiss babies, and sell real estate. It's the it's the owner's responsibility to build the ecosystem that makes it an engine that's on autopilot, which is really exciting about where the industry is today. They're just starting to adopt things. Like we hear AI, right? Our stuff is all AI driven, but it's boring. It's data and insights. And I know when we talked, it's like, you're like, just make sure it works. Like at the end of the day, it's got to work. It works. And if it doesn't work right away, the system continues to learn because guess what? It's plugged into your database. It's learning every single moment that you're adding data into the system. Think how much time your ISA spent adding notes or adding appointments, sending texts. All that information is feeding. It's feeding the engine. And real estate people know this better than anybody. Is it better to rent or own? You want to own the system. You want to own the data. That's what we want our people to think about. And that creates something that provides you that predictable, sustainable, and transferable cash flow.
I'm sure people watching and listening right now are wondering, so what happens? What is this? This all sounds good.
Oh.
What do I see in my follow-up? What do I see in my CRM?
Yeah. I mean, if you want, I always try not to get too technical, but
let's just do it. Let's do a surface level, just so people can maybe visualize it in their head. Because I know once I saw this, it made all the sense in the world for me.
Yeah, the big thing is that we're using our customers' information, so we connect directly. Our team is a bunch of data scientists, and so we connect directly into the systems. So each unique CRM. So we'll use Follow Up Boss. But in the case of, let's say you're a Follow Up Boss user today and you decide I want to go to Sierra or Close or any of the other platforms, know that you can always...
I haven't heard of that one yet. Okay, cool.
Add that to your list. They're coming. But the Follow Up Boss, it's such a phenomenal platform. And so you think about, we connect directly into the system. And when I say we create AI-driven models that are outside of the ecosystem. And the modeling that we do is taking into account, I mentioned first-party data. That's the email opens, property views, the things that most teams use to filter their smart lists, right? Familiar with smart lists. Great. But we know that there's a lot of I'm just looking and tire kickers that exist out there. We bring in rich third-party information. So we actually are able to match one-to-one with every lead in your database where we can. So if I know the name, phone, email address, property address, we have a one-to-one match using big data. We buy this information from the experience, the TransUnions of the world that as a consumer, you've opted in to provide that information. That's your credit card behavior. It's what you're watching on Netflix. If you ever picked up your phone and you're talking about babies and all of a sudden you get a diaper ad, that's what's at play here.
Yeah, third-party data, folks. That's the stuff. That's the stuff. Third-party data.
They're listening, right? And so we bring that third-party information in because like I mentioned, you don't know if that lead that's in your database, they may be searching on Zillow still. They may be watching certain shows. They also may be eliciting the behaviors that people in your market have recently elicited that have just bought real estate.
Looking at Home Depot online, maybe.
Boom.
Right?
Yeah, and every market's different. So, Sonny, with your database, right, we create a custom model. Hey, Sonny, tell me the people that you have done business with. Great. Let's understand their behavior. Then we apply that behavior to all the other contacts who have not transacted with you.
Dude, that was so cool. Let me stop you right there because I thought that was, okay, I'm a geek, 100%, right? I like AI. Maybe I should have been an engineer. I have 10 uncles minimum who are friggin' engineers, probably 100, but that's a cultural thing too. But and I'm allowed to say that. But it was really cool on one of our first calls. You're all, hey, dude, send me all your past sales. I was okay. And you guys went in and trained the model on what the behaviors were for my past sales here in little old Sacramento, California. And we're able to get that data, dude, and use it on the rest of that shit is so cool. Anyways,
yeah, and it's also it's cool, but it has to work, right? And so when we do that because we understand. So I've always used predictive analytics in the businesses that I've ran because data informs every decision, right? It should.
It's smart, yeah.
You're using in real estate. How many conversations have you had? How many calls did you make? That's data. I'm using it behind the scenes to make sure that we don't waste dollars on people we shouldn't be wasting dollars on. I mean, that's how you increase your margin. And so that's where we pride ourselves on creating regional or custom models. In your case, we create a custom model versus if we just create one big model for the entire United States, my consumer here, my customer in Minneapolis is much different than yours in Sacramento. And so that's the importance of that local feel. But then what we do is once we turn it on, and you know this, our results weren't staggering to begin with. Just like you mentioned, you're a data junkie, AI, let's just use the AI example, ChatGPT. Most people are familiar with that. Just like ChatGPT, the more context you give our system, context being activities. I mentioned the data. Every single day, you're pumping it full of data. It doesn't feel like data, but it's really your agents logging activities. It's moving people in pipeline. That is informing something. And ultimately, we just feed back into your system. So back to the core of the question is like, what do we feed back? It's a score. It is so simple.
And how excited was I when you showed me those numbers? But about the possibility of getting the lead scoring.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys are lead scoring, right? Because I use that in other systems without the third-party data, right? Like, for example, in Go High Level, I'm doing lead scoring based on first-party data, based on email opens, based on going back to the website, which is not a column I can create yet in Follow Up Boss. Not the Follow Up Boss at all, right? I love it. I think I'm on the website sometimes. I think I'm on your guys' website sometimes too. Anyways, used to be. I really like seeing a number there that, hey, is this guy an A or is this guy an F, right? Like call the A's, call the hell out of the A's, the F's, put on some automation, wait for them to raise their hand, right? Am I seeing this the right way?
You are. Yeah. And that's the basic principle is, and I remember this conversation even with you is like, lead scoring has been around. We use actually lead scores from other vendors that are first party data vendors, right? That use email opens, clicks, all that to indicate, hey, am I like we do that with our HubSpot customers, the Fellows, Real Scout, the other platforms. We use that to inform ours. What we bring to the table is that third party data set, the 1,700 attributes that we're analyzing. I mean, that's tremendous. It is a holistic view and a deeper level of insight that we're talking, Sonny, about your use case about lead prioritization. That's what most teams care about. But what we've now been able to do, and as we continue to evolve, we're predicting other things. So the items that now is which agent on your team is the one that should work the lead. So we know now based on each agent's history, and this is really applicable when you raise, hey, how many different generations are buying and selling real estate right now?
Yes.
5, right? You got boomers, Gen Z, all the way down to Gen Z, or I don't even know if there's a new one that's entered the marketplace. But you also have 5 different generations of agents that how do you connect the dots? And so if you can get to that layer of a systematic approach in your business, but making it super simple, now we're predicting, hey, lead A, that's, they're here in their path to purchase, they're further down. And they also, because we know who they are, because we have the attributes, you've seen this, the personas that we feed in. We know the approximate amount of income. We know in what life stage do they have kids? Do they like dogs? Do they like to read? Sonny, in your specific consumer profile, for whatever reason, your people don't like to read books and they love cruises. I don't know where that comes from.
I love cruises.
You should start promoting cruise lines on your site. But those are
I also love cruises.
So maybe that's why. But it's phenomenal to see some of that, but then it's got to be actionable. So you see the evolution of where the data informed decision making, first and foremost, let's figure out which leads to work. Great. Because that's a problem. I got teams all across the country that are cutting expenses. And if they can figure out how to optimize the current systems that they have, now they don't have to, when they go through the ebbs and flows as real estate does, they don't have to get rid of people. They can keep the team intact because it is a sustainable ecosystem.
Totally.
And now we get into rep assignment. Let's do that because I've seen the tiers that people do just based on experience or price points. But you also know there's an angle of emotional intelligence involved in this business. The ability to have empathy in certain agents, like that is critical. And so it's been fun to see the evolution of getting down to that. And then we're working with teams that you've noted my background in M&A, but it's the consolidation that's taking place. We have teams that are growing, not by just going out and recruiting agents. They're acquiring brokerages, they're acquiring teams across the country, and they leverage us. So they first look at, like Sonny, in your case, they're looking at who's my ICP, who's my ideal customer profile, which areas around the country have the highest match rate for that profile. And now let's really get laser focused on those markets versus the more arbitrary assignment that you have. So that's been a fun experience. And again, it's all rooted in the data that's already at your fingertips. It's your information. You gotta harvest it and use it and make it simple and actionable. And that's what we're efforting to do.
Dude, I'm so excited to open up follow-up process in this call right now. I'm like totally distracted. I was like, I got to go in here and play a little bit more because I know you meet with my ops manager every week and my ISAs, and they freaking love it. Right, the ISAs are super happy.
Like I said, it is just like AI. It learns every week, every day, so it's getting better, right? So the performance, and we can talk about specifics, but like the performance it's a gradual incline, which we're all attached to the shiny objects that are out there. You want the immediacy, you want the ding factor, you want those things, but ultimately those things dissipate and we get into this perpetual motion of plugging in new systems because they promised me the world and then they don't deliver on their promises and you rip them out. Incredibly counterproductive. Start with the data you have to inform everything else, and it'll take care of itself, but you root it in that decision making. That is, again, our value prop, what we're trying to make sure people are focused on as they grow their team, as they think about the next step, use the information that you've been investing in to do that.
Yeah, it's an easy answer to say more leads.
It is. More leads are expensive.
More leads are expensive. More leads require manpower.
It requires more people, exactly. And so you build up, and then as a team leader, you're looking at conversion rates and you're like, why didn't you wanted more leads? Why aren't we converting them? And you get that feedback loop of, well, they suck. Well, leads in this industry are not like a plumbing, HVAC, window and siding lead, right? They're much different. Those folks it's a much longer purchase cycle. And the teams that win, the ones that we're seeing are the ones that, this, your lead, the 120,000 plus leads are in probably your top 5 competitors' databases as well. The secret is those.
I don't have any competitors, but
I get it.
There's a couple other agents in town who may have.
You know what I'm saying? But they've probably gone on to Zillow, Realtor.com, Facebook.
100%.
They wanted to look at properties.
They could have gone to my website, another agent in my office's website, another agent at LPT's website, all see the same shit, right? I've been 5 leads in 5 different places.
And the ones that win are the ones that follow up at the right time and they have the right message. But that's the tricky part, is making sure that you're not putting on the hard sales pitch to somebody who is still not ready. That's a recipe for opt-out, and you lose that opportunity. You bring that layer of intel into your communication track, and you're treating people with the emotional intelligence that they are seeing with bigger companies that are out there. We bring that into the real estate world and mortgage as well. And so that is...
we got to talk about that mortgage stuff. Have you and Nick been talking about that, about my mortgage stuff?
We haven't. No, the use case has been real estate. Let's do that. But the mortgage side, fascinating, right? And those are our 2 big verticals, right? We're serving both our FUB users. It's really, really powerful because the lenders, they also, right? They want more repeat business. They want to understand, hey, who's a candidate for a refi or a purchase loan? Like, great, we can help you figure that out. And that's where the lifetime value really becomes powerful. And they rely on automation and not stoic, but the bland messaging to everybody, where this becomes powerful and where you really see people getting creative is like, think about customer journeys that you can do. Think about conversational AI. I know we have those platforms that are out there, but where this is all heading is, again, I mentioned right people, right message, right time, to be able to understand who is on the other side of that outreach and what to say to them. You nail that and nobody can catch up to you. And most conversational AI right now, right? They reach out and, hey, are you looking to buy or sell? And you hope to have that conversation with them, or they clicked on a property. If am I talking to somebody who's making $300K a year? They got a couple kids. They are tech savvy. That's some insight. Versus, am I talking to a baby boomer on their own, using Social Security, has 3 properties? Now the insights that you have just have a much better consumer experience. That's ultimately what we're trying to do.
The cool thing with all that information is it allows for more meaningful and thoughtful follow-up rather than just something that a conversational AI could do. Hey, just checking in. You seen any houses online that you want to look, that you want to see, right? And that kind of shit, that raises, people do not like that. Like when you get those text messages, everyone viewing and listening and everything, everyone checking this out, like it annoys you, guaranteed, right? So do you think that when you drop those messages on someone who met you from clicking a button on a Google form, you think that they're going to feel any different? No. But now when you know about them and you see the stuff that they're interested in, and you can see where they are in the customer journey, you can totally do it. That is like a superpower of this software that I personally don't think about enough.
Yeah, it'll be fun to, again, as we're continuing to learn, right? We're new in the marketplace. We have the luxury of getting the early adopters on board. And so it's been great to see not only the teams that we're assisting, the coaching platforms now that use it, is like, how do you first audit the existing system? Like, okay, let's do that and understand, are you talking to the right people? How do we help you squeeze some more opportunities out of the existing database you have? And then how do we help you generate more leads? Because you get back to like, everybody wants leads. Well, we can help you inform your Google pay-per-click, your Facebook ads, those things, but you're no longer saying just arbitrarily, or maybe there's a few different parameters, but it's specific to the customers that you serve, which again lowers your cost per lead and ultimately brings in the right leads, and away you go. So there's so many different use cases for how to apply it.
And you for sure, big companies like Zillow, big companies like Redfin are using some version of this and charging us that referral fee, right? And getting the same stuff. Think about what's available. Yeah, bro, I'm about to get a follow-up boss as soon as it's over. So yes, because there's so much information that we aren't using. Man,
it's the
So
same.
glad that you brought this out, dude, because
You mentioned a couple of the players, right? We do work with some of them, right? And we're informing their systems, but we are bringing it to the community that's the community I came from, and it's being able to hand this over because we want to get people out of the perpetual reliance on third parties. You see this. You see, like as I talk with the easy home search guys, right? They're building ecosystems that allow you to build a business that you're not dependent upon third parties. You're not renting systems anymore. You're building your own defensible strategy. And so that's the community that we want to assist. And ultimately, it's got to be profitable. And that's how we're tasked every single day is how do I make sure that I'm increasing the profitability of the customers that we're working with and ultimately adding that value. And then you inform all the fancy fun objects that are out there at our disposal. So start with the data that you have at your fingertips and then go deploy it to all the great systems, all the great new solutions that are out there. But now you aren't just relying on them to tell you what to do. You can say, here are the people that I want to inject into your system. Here are the people that I want to inject into your system. Go have at it. But these are the right people that we need to message based on wherever their secret sauce is.
Dude, love that. So we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we were on a call. I was in my backyard. One of the only Zoom calls I've taken in my backyard. Makes
You
me
had
think,
family over. That was right.
yeah, something was going on. There was a bunch of family over. But where do you see like the future of lead generation, bro? Like, where's the lead industry headed?
It's a great question. The lead, I mean, ultimately, I think we were talking about communication and how they're handed it over. I see my vision would be that we're no longer relying upon the big vendors that are out in the universe, right? I want teams to build their own defensible moat and generating and being able to do that with high margin sales. I think that that's the ideal. Getting there is difficult because these platforms have generated, they generate the traffic. It's how do we squeeze out more margin when they're charging you more and more and more, which they're going to continue to do.
Absolutely.
So we always viewed it as you play with the monsters because at the end of the day, it brings volume into your business, which I don't foresee that going away. Where there's massive opportunity is how do you use those transactions and have a more predictable engine that can successfully increase the lifetime value of every customer that you get from those. So, there'll be new entrants into lead generation as we continue forward. You never know who's going to pop into the scene, but those that are making the investments now to create their own, lead gen ecosystem are the ones that I feel are going to continue to grow at an exponential rate versus those that they choose the easy route. It's a quick payday, but again, you're going to be that hamster on a wheel because they're charging you such a hearty percentage. That's just my thought. We work with all of the lead vendors, and it's fascinating to see how they're getting smarter. They're driving their cost per lead down, but they're not passing that along to their customers.
Of course not.
They're not doing it yet. And so I think that'll change as more folks become privy to it. But I don't know if that was even a clear answer. I love all the lead vendors ultimately. I really
do.
And they all have their thing. I think, you talk about, we can use Z and the elephant in the room, but heck, they hand over, our data shows you that they're the best leads there. And they convert.
So does my data. My data shows you that too. By about
and so it's not if I were to show you like which lead source, it's like, yeah, those are the ones. But the ones that understand and the ones that everybody wants automation. And let's just go there. Like automation only gets you so far. Humans will never leave this industry. It's proven time and time again. AI adoption is skyrocketing right now. Everybody's trying to incorporate AI. I think how you use it in your day-to-day still needs to really be flushed out because consumers, they're becoming wise. So it's as effectively like, how do you make sure, and this is our thesis, is like, how do I take the 123,000 people that are in Sunit's database and how do I whittle it down to a bite-sized portion where his human capital can go out and do their job? And then you automate the others. I think that's the proven formula. Whereas most people are like, let's automate everything. If you use those, if you go to Agent Legend's website, we're a communications platform at our core. That's what we've been for 9 years. We've changed we've adapted, I should say, in the form of like, we just want to help you talk to the right people with our automation. Because if you try to talk to everyone, you're going to rack up a hearty bill, and that's not sustainable for anyone's business. So we just got to get smarter with what we're doing. And it starts with lead intelligence as to like, who do I talk to at the end of the day?
And I mean, when I remember when Agent Legend came out, one of the first times I ever spoke on stage was about using texting automation. And I had my slides with Agent Legend on it back in the day. I went all over the country showing that. But it was great until, well, people are responding to the automation. Oh, shit. What do I do? Right? So I really like, what you said is, just another sidebar. I just got a text about 2 hours ago from a friend of mine, a realtor. He's like, hey, I want to automate this and this. I was like, sounds nice. You need to hire an admin.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And you get that automation fatigue. You can't automate everything. You still need the right people.
Or should you? Right?
Doing the right things. And so I see that. I mean, I don't know what your guys' perspective is. And as you're coaching, the problems that I think we started with this, the ones that I consistently get on our calls, which we are laser focused on, is just increasing that company generated business, reducing those expenses. And expenses it could be your leads, it could be your overhead that you have in the business, all the different items on your P&L. And then ultimately, how do I make the existing team more productive? I mean, those are the big three. And if we can nail those, I think you have something that's really, really strong in the marketplace moving forward for sure.
Awesome, dude. Awesome. So last question for anyone listening right now that they want to level up their business, besides calling you and signing up for Agent Legend, although they should do that too. What's one thing they should start doing today inside their CRM?
Inside their CRM. I was going to say get a rock solid coach and mentor in the industry. Like that's bar none in anything else. The one,
do you happen to know any?
I might. I'll put that in the chat and folks can what they're doing. If you're not using your guys' platform, highly recommend. I mean, it's a culmination of the best tools, but also thought leadership in the industry. So start there, if nothing else, to level up. Like the one thing to do is just, and again, not calling Agent Legend, but look at the numbers. Like actually get dialed in on the key performance indicators that move the needle in your business. We are a sales focused industry, right? We just got to go sell. If you ever want to step away from the business, you need to build systems and processes. Everybody talks about that, but executing is incredibly difficult. That's why I go to say, go get a coach who's done it before. Invest in that. You should be investing heavily in the next couple of layers that you're going in. I would say develop systems and processes to do it and use that data to inform every decision that you should be making moving forward. You follow the formula, follow the people that are a couple of steps ahead of you. Again, if I'm a few steps behind Sonny, I would hire you. I would say, Sonny, I'll pay you. Just help me get to where you're at. Like that, if I can even say that, I don't know if that's the proper answer. But again, that's what got me to where I was at. I got out of the day-to-day of real estate because I wanted more time in my life. And so I hired somebody to help me get to this. Like, hey, Steve, instead of growing everything, go out and buy. Like, go out there, you can go buy assets, right? And so Agent Legend is one of those assets. And the thesis that we have behind it is all backed on the data that we had at our fingertips. So,
yes, know the data. So many of you guys listening and watching don't know your data and are making decisions based on feeling.
Correct.
Stop that shit.
Or you go to a Facebook group and you see somebody's post and you're like, I should do that. I would stay clear of that. Get somebody who can manage social media. But again, you're totally right. It's instincts and people kind of shiny object syndrome. I would look at your current system, identify the flaws in it, and then you go out and make the modifications. Small improvements every single day. There's no secret formula to it, but that's how you make those little minor improvements and continue to get better every single day.
Love it, dude. If somebody wants to reach out to you and talk to you about anything, how should they do it?
LinkedIn. I'm a big LinkedIn fan. That's my preferred platform. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, message me. And then obviously you can go to Agent Legend's website to learn more about our product and service. But would love to connect with, you kind of understand who we're looking to meet. So I appreciate, everything that you've done, Sonny, and you continue to grow your business. So I appreciate you being an advocate for what we're doing.
Hey, yes. Bro, if I find something cool, I'm not going to hoard it. I got past those days in my early 30s. So Dude, thank you so much for being here. And, everyone listening, if you're not using smart tools like Agent Legend, start to rethink about it. At least, look at what it could do for your business. I'm going to log in right now, like I said multiple times on the call. Hopefully you got value from this episode. And if you did, awesome. Do me a favor. Share it with your team, another real estate pro, or a friend that needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the Reside Platform podcast so you never miss an episode. Dude, Steve, thank you so much. Everybody watching and listening, thank you guys so much. And we'll see you in the next episode of the Reside Platform podcast. Peace out.